This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Build up to Black Friday with savings all month long at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select major appliances, plus take an additional 10% off when you buy select major appliances. And don't wait to pick up holiday inflatables under $20. Don't wait to save, in-store or online now, because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 11/6 through 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.
We're just connecting Instagram. Thanks for your patience. There we go. Welcome to our Instagram viewers. A little bit behind. And welcome to the Idaho Sheriff live stream broadcast with Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff. I'm your co-host and producer, Dawna Wilson. I'm here to screen your questions and comments. We're here to discuss all things liberty without compromise, and we are the only, as I always say, flim-flam free broadcast in all of Kootenai County. Take a moment right now to share this live stream to your profile and to send your questions or comments through to Dan. Put them into the comment section on whichever platform you're joining us tonight.
Absolutely, 100%.
Whether that's Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. For the most interactive full-screen experience, be sure to watch on Facebook or YouTube. So if you're having issues over there on Instagram, join us, Facebook or YouTube. You get the full screen. For those listening back on our podcast, thank you. Anyone can listen and subscribe to our podcast on whichever platform you get those shows. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's easy. The Idaho Sheriff. That's our YouTube channel. And then like and follow our Facebook page. We're almost up to 1,000. I mean, like not 8 or 9 away. So like and follow it. Now here's the only sheriff candidate in Kootenai County endorsed by Sheriff Richard Mack, retired Brigadier General Blaine Holt, former heavyweight champ David Nino Rodriguez, and backed by both current and retired law enforcement from all over the West Coast and right here in Kootenai County. Here's Dan Wilson.
Howdy. You have my mic up finally?
I do.
It is?
Yes.
You sure?
It was a little behind.
Let me try that again. Howdy, folks.
It's here.
27 days until decision is made where you, the citizens of Kootenai County, get to decide whether or not you are okay with mediocre leadership in the sheriff's office. And, you know, of course, the FOP boys, they're at it again.
Well, you know, they were up early this morning. They had to get their digs in.
Yeah, I'm certain
But they're
that
watching.
I'm certain the FOP president.
Here's the good news: they got their eyes on you.
Yeah, well, I've known that they've had my eyes, eyes on me for a very long time. But we're going to address those FOP fanboys probably next week. I don't know. I'm not feeling too much like
that long.
Yeah, talking about
You're
tonight.
going to make them wait that long.
Friends in the region, thanks so much for joining. I've heard you loud and clear. Many of you have said that you want leadership, that you want liberty without compromise. Well, Kootenai County, we are getting very close to that edge of making that decision. And I am looking forward to being your next sheriff in the upcoming uncertain times. But have hope, as I always say.
If you've just logged on, remember to share this live stream. So click that share button so your friends and family can join in.
We've had some great events this past week. We were at the Safe Harbor 5K run. Great time. Good seeing so many folks that come out to support those that are human trafficking survivors. And of course, we greatly appreciated being a part of that great group. We have a lot of things coming up. And not only do we have back-to-back personal meet and greets, but we have an event coming up this coming, Monday, the 14th. There's going to be a Coeur d'Alene Press interview where all the candidates get to.
Is that a video interview?
Yeah, it's going to be a video interview.
We're not inviting you guys to come to that. It's not a public event.
I think it's put on with the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. And then right after that, there's going to be an event at Live Coffee that I'm going to attend. I am not a speaker, but we are going to be there in support of an organization, The Innocent. So that's at the North Idaho Freedom Fighters. We also have on the 21st, that is a week from this coming Monday, the Liberty Without Compromise rally. Since Bob Norris chickened out and decided that he didn't want to have a debate, he had 60 days, and in those 60 days, he couldn't garner up enough courage to sit down and have a real debate, where we talk about the ideas back and forth with a moderator that is not, partial to anyone's side, in a venue that is neutral with questions that are predetermined as far as how the questions are asked. But since Bob didn't want to, I don't know, what do you call it, challenge me to a duel of words, we decided that we're going to hold our own rally. And we're going to talk about all of the things that I have been discussing the past year. I say it's a year. It's officially 10 months, but it has been a year. And I'm going to have some special guests. We're going to talk about all the things that are going on right here in Kootenai County. We're going to give you, the people of this great county, the ability to come out, see me firsthand. And any of you that have been whining and belly aching, oh, we just don't know what his positions are, we haven't heard, so on and so forth, now's your chance. But of course, we know many of them still won't come.
No, they won't, because it would bust through the narrative. But that's Monday, October 21st. Now you
sound like me. Now you sound like me.
PM. Watch it there, buddy. North Idaho College, and we're on the second floor of the Student Union Building, room 205.
10/22, the day after that rally. I think that's a Tuesday, because if Monday is the rally, that would make the 22nd a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be down at the in Cataldo, Idaho. No, let me restate that. Yeah, it's Cataldo, Idaho, Kootenai County. I'm going to be at a town hall there with some other candidates, and we're going to be having a mini town hall. This is the town hall that Bob Norris got his tort claim from. Mm-hmm. The tort claim, where he was allegedly saying some pretty heinous things, and then
this is the location he was when that allegedly happened.
And then after that took place, of course, he just couldn't leave well enough alone. This lady filed a $500,000 tort claim against the county and Bob Norris. And a week later, he's issuing a bounty on the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office official letterhead, a bounty for anybody that could find evidence, video evidence, that was contrary to what this lady was saying in her tort claim. He would pay $10,000 of his own money. And I'm curious if there's other laws that were broken when he did that. I guess I'll wait for the attorneys to settle that one out.
You're
but
just gonna have to see. Yeah.
Remember, you can vote for me on November 5th, regardless of what.
100%.
Let me try that again. You can vote for me, Dan Wilson, regardless of what your party affiliation is in the general election. People were confused. The primary was closed to those candidates that you are signed up as whatever party affiliation. For me, I'm unaffiliated, so I just got unaffiliated independent candidates myself during that primary. But otherwise, you can vote for anybody and everybody. You can cross party lines. And I hope that people in Kootenai County, whether you are on the proverbial left or right, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Constitutionalist, or you're plain like me, fed up with the political system, things like the KCRCC and some of those groups that have lost their way, the sheriff should be an independent position anyway, and I will provide equal protection under the law for everyone. I won't be auctioning off the county resources for Republican fundraisers like Bob Norris has done continually year after year and in violation of law. I'm not certain why he still hasn't gotten in trouble for this, but I won't be doing that for Democrats. I won't be doing it for Republicans. I will be protecting everybody's rights as found in the Bill of Rights, and I won't go in your home and pull a book that I don't agree with and grandstand on it. So you can vote for me. Go to the idahosheriff.com for details where we're going to be coming up. Links to articles that I've been talking about, the deficiencies in the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office leadership for many, many months, and a robust YouTube, would you call it a page? What do you call YouTube?
It's a channel. You have your own channel. Wow. And there's a great interview there that you did earlier in the week or end of last week with the Real North Idaho.
Yeah.
That is also on the media section of our website, theidahosheriff.com. But that goes a lot further into some of those questions that people have. And the host there did a really good job of pulling that information, having that conversation with you, and a little bit more about why a sheriff should be independent and not party aligned, why that really is best for the people. So more on that there if you want to hear it.
Thanks to all my supporters who have been tirelessly working for the past several weeks. You know who you are. You've been waving signs religiously. You've been putting up the 6x6 banners. We've been getting reports of spottings of these banners all over the county. And we have right now in our possession 200 yard signs that will begin to be distributed tomorrow. If you want one, let us know. We also have them at the Survival Enterprise in Government Way in Hayden, at the Patriot Hangout in Coeur d'Alene across from Costco, Westwood Guns in Rathdrum. If you want to be part of the sign planting team, let us know. Now, we are still getting our signs mysteriously disappeared. Kind of like taken. Yeah. Just gone. Vanished.
Yeah, if you put one on private property, put a camera on it if you have one, because they're disappearing, and we don't have endless funds to keep replenishing every time.
Yeah, we're the grassroots guys.
Disappears from a spot. So having said that, I do want to put this in here at this point in the program. You can donate securely on the website, theidahosheriff.com. There's a donate button there. It does not matter what amount. It is used directly. There's no monkey business in the middle. There's a lot that we have people who are equipped professionally to do. And so those funds go directly. We're able to funnel a lot of those directly toward printed materials, more signs, getting more signs in the ground around town. It goes straight to it. So we do need those donations. Like Dan was saying, this has been grassroots. We don't have a political action committee that's coming in and taking
like
out
the FOP 43?
taking out full page ads in local papers.
Did you know, here's an interesting fact.
Yeah.
The FOP, their PAC, Political Action Committee.
FOP PAC.
has been funded largely by big donors. One of those big donors is Traffic-Corps, the traffic signaling company. And did you know that the rumor is that Bob Norris can't even keep his own son working at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, that his son quit and went to work for Traffic-Corps. Now, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is.
So, Bob, I don't understand. You can't even keep your own kid working there. That's saying something. Now, I'd like to have you pull up, if possible. I probably didn't prep you quickly enough for the law enforcement endorsement page. I want folks to take a look at the endorsement page on the idahosheriff.com. Met with several more deputies this week. Been greatly appreciative of all of their support and insight, even some retirees. If you want to add your name to those that endorse Dan Wilson, please send it to info@theidahosheriff.com. That is info@theidahosheriff.com. We'll make certain to get you added to that list. It's a robust list, and we have some pretty good quotes on there as well. So
we do.
All right. Let's talk about a couple quick things that I'm going to carry on from last week that have seemed to alienate people. And I'm not certain why it alienates them.
Hold that thought. Don't forget. I don't want to be in trouble for making you forget. If you have a question or comment, put it into the comment section on whichever platform you're watching. I'm going to field those, and I'll make sure to get those to Dan. So even though we're going off on our conversation, we are still filtering through that, and we'll get that over to Dan.
So last week, I touched on the fact that a previous video that I had made stating two things made people very upset. The first one was regarding my belief that more than 2 terms, 8 years is too long for a politician. And so I made a commitment that I will not break, whereby once I am elected, I will only serve 2 terms. Now, of course, I have to get reelected, so I'm kind of being presumptuous. But I believe that after 2 terms, you're more likely, doesn't matter, human nature is what it is. Our founders even discussed this. Human nature cannot handle being in certain positions for a long, extended period of time.
You've had a couple of things in blowback to making that what I believe is a very bold commitment. Mm-hmm. And one is, well, you must be pretty weak, a pretty weak of the moral character and of weak mind,
says the keyboard
that you
warrior.
Can't handle more than 8 years. And you're saying that you would be corrupted. So are there people that need further explanation?
No, this is the keyboard warriors. We know one of them that's very famous and happens to be related to an FOP member. So weird. Lesson. The depravity of man is, without question. Eventually, given enough power, you will become compromised. Now, maybe there are a few that don't do that, but my belief, I just already drew the line and it said, I commit to the people, I would only serve 2 terms. So whatever blowback that is, that's on those people that can't comprehend somebody saying, I will serve with integrity, and then pop smoke and go. Now, the second part that really irritated them, probably because, well, people love money, is I committed to not taking a full salary. Now, currently, the Kootenai County Sheriff's salary before benefits is about $160,000. And I said that I would go to the county commissioners and petition them to take my salary and reduce it to $99,000 per year, with the remainder of that salary being rolled back into the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office Volunteer Service Division that I'm going to completely revamp. And that made a lot of people upset. If you think 60,000 times 4 years, well, that's a big chunk of change. And I had some disingenuous deputies, because you know who you are. You're the friends of Bob's that tried to send me an email claiming you just want the facts, but you forget that I've got my deputies on the inside and I know your number. And, statements like, well, you can't fund an entire division for $60,000. Well, genius, did you actually pass high school or just police academy? I mean, give me a break. I mean, the amateurish behavior out of some of these deputies blows my mind. We need an attitude readjustment. So, yeah, I'm going to give my salary, a big portion of it, right back to the very services that, to me, I'm passionate about.
Take that criticism to all the way to the end, though, for anybody who has remaining questions on it. The $60,000 a year isn't going to fund an entire volunteer unit or team. Not at all. So, I mean, explain it for those in the back. Mm-hmm.
It's putting a dent in. It's putting literally my money where my mouth is. Where I believe so passionately about things that I believe are a net benefit to the citizens of this county through the Volunteer Services Division, that I'm willing to give tremendous amount of myself to fund something, to assist funding something that I believe in. And for those of you haters out there, I'm sorry that you're haters. I know you have to look yourself every day in the mirror and face yourself, but it's not going to change my resolve to do the right thing, which is to secure this county at all costs for the good citizens of this community, and the deputies with the right leadership can be realigned. So that's the 2 things that I wanted to bring up again, because there's been so much hate the past week.
Well, they're ramping it up, but we're ready for it. One of the things you've been talking about from the onset of this campaign is your vision to get this county prepared for what might be on the horizon. Yeah. It's not to put fear into people. And one of the things I've heard you speak about is we have safety, things set for our safety in life that we prepare for, we hope we never have to use.
Right.
Or you put on a seatbelt when you drive a car. That's not a fear tactic. It's something that you hope never comes into play when you're driving your vehicle, that you won't necessarily need it, but it's a precaution
We
that,
buy
that we
insurance.
take. Yes.
We buy insurance, yeah.
You have been saying this from day one. We now have had nationwide disasters that from Kootenai County, we're sitting here looking on into some of these other states and counties and how they've been affected, whether or not they've been prepared. The sitting sheriff, how they're handling those situations and the statements they're making to the public, their citizens, the media. We're getting to see in real time, is the government coming in to help? Is the state prepared to help in those crisis help in those specific counties? Or who is it that really has been the most help and the most aid within those counties when disasters strike? So I know that there's a couple of things here you wanted to look at. One is a statement that is, this is what I have been saying, and part of what I'm passionate about in my message, and what you promised to do when you take office. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and roll these videos. I think we'll do the first one from a video that I cut on September 24th, I believe.
Globally, nationally, locally. Hi, I'm Dan Wilson, Kootenai County Sheriff candidate, and I have a plan. My transition team and I are ready to take the plans that I've been working on for the past 10 months and to implement those plans and policies immediately upon becoming the 14th Sheriff of Kootenai County. I do believe that human trafficking is taking place. I do believe that illegal invasion is right here. I do believe that fentanyl is a crisis and that we're facing dangers all around us, but have hope, because with the right leadership in the office of sheriff, we can secure this county better than anybody can. We're not waiting for the federal government to come. We're not waiting for the state government to come. It starts right here, right in Kootenai County, and you are also part of that solution. I will be implementing my Citizens Posse quickly. We will have our plan of action, and it is for everyone in this county who wants to participate shoulder to shoulder in the cause of liberty without compromise. Together, we can overcome all adversity that comes our way. Please vote for me for your next sheriff of Kootenai County.
And I've been saying for 10 months, my passion is to get this county ready. We've seen real world examples since 2020. And, frankly, before 2020, but especially since 2020, with the attempted usurpation of the Bill of Rights during the 15 days to stop the spread, when many of our fellow Americans decided that because of a virus and propaganda, they would gladly trade their dangerous liberty for a certain security. But people in Kootenai County were a lot smarter than that. And they didn't buy off in that propaganda as much as other larger counties in the state and even around the country did. And we saw what has taken place with recent disasters. You look at the fires in Hawaii. Look at the devastation. And the recovery efforts were going fine as long as the locals were taking care of it. But the minute that the federal government got involved, it all went to hell. And it has never been the same since. And we can look at all these dangers, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that when you have an administration that has been weaponized against the people, that eventually you cannot rely on the federal government. I mean, hell, you have Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. They are supposed to secure the borders, and yet they are aiding and abetting invaders from all over the world to come across unchecked into our sovereign nation. So why would we expect them to be Johnny on the spot when we have a natural event? Now, in North Carolina, we have a hurricane, and in Tennessee and in Florida, they get hurricanes back there on the East Coast and flooding. We don't get hurricanes up here in the Pacific Northwest, but here's what we can have. We can have earthquakes. We can have firestorms. We can have man-made events. And the thing is that you have to be prepared today, as I've been saying, 4 months. Nobody's coming. It's up to us. Hence my passion to get a Citizens Posse ready to maintain the rule of law, where we have subject matter experts from every field and expertise and profession ready to join us with whatever problem we have to fix that problem. I want to play a video right now of a sheriff, two sheriffs back in, I believe it's North Carolina. You may have seen this video, but they get it. They understand what they're up against. Listen to what they have to say, and then we're going to discuss it a little more.
About Biden and Harris.
Yes, what were you going to say? Oh.
But I don't want to curse. I'm scared there'll be little ears listening.
Well, and you've been up here. You've been up here for how long?
Just 2 days.
2 days?
The sheriff hadn't left, and he's doing a fantastic job, so.
That's right. I mean, Sheriff, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for all you do. I'm going to definitely get this up on social media, and we're going live tonight with Sean Hannity. But if you had a message for the White House and how they've handled the situation up here in North Carolina, what would your message be, Sheriff Wright?
If you're going to do the things you've been talking about doing, we just assume you stay out of the way and let the good men and women around the mountain area and the foothills take care of our own, because you're nothing more than a boat anchor.
No help. FEMA hasn't been helpful.
Wait a minute. That lady that's running for president talks about the $750. Huh. What about all that money you give to Ukraine and all these other people that really want to kill us and don't want to do anything to help us? Why don't you just give that money to them? That's who you want to give it to begin with.
And a lot of people have been turned down for the $750. Almost everybody I've spoken to hasn't received any of the funding, and they've been turned down for personal items.
Well, they talked about get on your phone or your computer. Do you not see what the devastation is? They don't have a phone or a computer.
There's nothing up here. There's no communication. I'm going to be posting this later. There's no way to access the internet unless you have a Starlink net. And everybody's...
Thank you, Elon Musk, by the way.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Elon Musk.
President Donald Trump, we need you.
What are the... Yes, that's a message for you, President Trump. And I was going to ask you, what are the most affected areas that you've seen? Is this pretty much ground zero from what you've seen, or can you...
Well, I think that'd be better for the sheriff here to answer for sure, because he knows his county a lot better than I do.
Here in Rutherford County, what are the most affected areas?
Almost certainly. Lake Lure and Chimney Rock is the most affected areas. We've had...
I mean, we're here in Chimney Rock, and I know they've been cleaning. What was Chimney Rock? What was
the lower end of the county, we've had a lot of damage, but nothing to this magnitude here.
This has just been devastating, and the people, for all of you out there, whatever you can do, whether it's Samaritan's Purse, whether you live in the area.
Yeah. Samaritan's Purse.
Yeah, Samaritan's Purse is...
cut off of it. All these other people, that do useless stuff on the blog.
So Samaritan's Purse, that's it. Samaritan's Purse. Come out here if they need. I heard you need more hands, more help, more manpower in some areas. So if you're living out in the area and you have special skills and you can help.
Let me tag on to that.
Okay.
Don't just show up saying I want to help. You get in touch with somebody and get some. They'll give you a code. They'll give you a person to be in contact with, because we know you want to help. But we have to vet you, because there's stuff laying around here that people's worked all their life for. We can't let a stranger come in here and just walk up and down the street.
They don't want looters.
We're not going to have looters. If you come over here and loot, just like in Spartanburg.
We get the general idea. So you have two sheriffs back there in this ravaged area, the town of Chimney Rock. And a couple things. You probably already know this, but the federal government didn't show up. The military didn't show up. The National Guard did not show up. What were they doing? When they did finally show up, they were obstructing. As that sheriff said, they were getting in the way of the locals who know how to do things best. And all the money that should have been there, we know that the Biden administration took close to $1 billion from FEMA and they funneled it into helping immigrants, or as I call them, invaders, into this country to fund them. You know, those $5,000 debit cards, those $10,000, in some cases $15,000. Well, that money's coming from somewhere, and it's not helping the taxpayers of the country. It's going to support those that are here illegally. And so, in conclusion, you heard that the sheriff was saying, if you're going to give to an organization for disaster relief, give to Samaritan's Purse, because Samaritan's Purse gives all of the funds to the effort. unlike a lot of other
I'm going to
agencies.
share that on the screen because I do have somebody asking about that nonprofit. So I'm just going to put that up there at SamaritansPurse.org.
Now, I've given to Samaritan's Purse many times over the years. I believe they're a reputable organization. They said also, if you want to help, they need help. My take is they didn't have a citizens posse. So they were still making do.
And he had to say, wait. Don't just come here.
Yeah.
Call, get connected with somebody.
Because we want to vet people. We want to make certain that we don't have criminals coming into our town feigning that they're there to help with a disaster when their intent is to steal from the communities that they have entered. And so a lot of things that are going on there. And I want folks to think about what it would be like here in Kootenai County in the event that there was an earthquake and the federal government isn't here. And if the federal government sends some actors, how much of an obstruction would they be? I believe my local neighbors would be more equipped readily to take care of the mission of saving lives and getting our infrastructure stabilized than I do of the federal government. And this is why it's so important to have a citizens posse. You have to have a network of people throughout the entire county region that understands what they're going to do in any kind of an event, that have to have radios because, as they said, cell phones were not working. Musk had to send Starlink in to get people's cell phones up and running because, the government, all their stupidity says, well, if you need help, call us. And the reality of it is that there will come a time in every county across this entire country where you're going to need alternative methods to get in touch with people. And that's through these radios. And you need to learn from radio experts in your community. Every community has radio groups where you can learn what kind of radios to buy and the licensing that you need to obtain in order to operate those. But it's important that you have all sorts of ability to communicate besides landlines and besides cell phones. But I want you folks to remember that you have to have a sheriff that is willing to set the tone from the beginning. And in the past 4 years, I've not heard one thing out of the current sheriff, not one thing where he said, hey, just so you know, this is what we've got going on. What he says is he's got a search and rescue team of 210 members, and he wants to expand it to 400. Well, Bob, you've had 4 years. Why are you just now trying to do this? You should have been forming a citizens posse 4 years ago when you saw the threats, or you should have seen the threats, but maybe you were too disposed to your coffee with sheriff events and playing with your helicopter, and going to all the KCRCC functions where you're hobnobbing or doing your exhibitions with your SWAT teams and with your regional air support unit and your canines out at the Black Rock gated community. A real sheriff looks at the danger on the horizon and he works tirelessly to get solutions there, which is to secure you folks in this county, and you folks are part of that solution.
What blows my mind is he says the best indicator of future performance is past performance. And at his own campaign kickoff rally, he's sharing press releases from when he took office 4 years ago. Look, here's my proof of my past performance.
Is that kind of like talking about your homework from like 4th and 5th grade when you're in the 10th grade?
I liken it to people who are still telling their heroic sport stories when you're 50-something and your glory days in high school. It's like, okay, and that was a printed press release, and how is that proof of action that has actionable items over that 4 years?
Folks, don't be conned. For far too long, for generations, people have lost sight of what the primary reason to have a sheriff is. And it's not just to perform the law and order functions, the same things that the police departments do, where most people don't know the difference between a deputy with a star versus an officer with a shield.
Actually, I think you are just making a good point because people don't understand. And so there is the legitimate perspective of, hey, Norris has been in office for 4 years. Nothing bad has happened
yet.
But that for them, that's the end of the statement. Mm-hmm. Nothing bad has happened. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah. But as the chief law enforcement officer of the county, as reinforced by a Supreme Court ruling back in the 90s, the sheriff is the first and last line of defense for his people. And the sheriff can't just be lagged down by the day-to-day operations of the organization, which exists in order to protect people's rights to life, liberty, and property. You know, lock up those that are trying to violate your rights when they're obstructing you from your ability to hang on to your possessions, when they steal things, when they harm you. But the sheriff also has to have a clear understanding, a wide range understanding, a 360-degree view of every kind of threat on the horizon. And Bob Norris just doesn't have it. And he was a professional government worker for 30 years. He doesn't have the experience that somebody like me has that has spent 25 years, which, 30 and 25, we're pretty dang close as far as our time spent out in our professions. But I understand what it's like to have to actually operate a functioning, profitable organization where not only do I depend on it, but every employee and subcontractor and vendor that continually works for me depends on my ability to lead a well-oiled organization. And I understand that. And I understand what it's like to project down the road in the future in order to stay relevant and to stay profitable. I've created jobs out of thin air. I have managed large budgets. I've negotiated complex contracts. I've surrounded myself with subject matter experts, and I will do this as my current transition team is ready on day one to start implementing my policies, which we've been working on tirelessly for many, many months. And my undersheriff is somebody who is very well loved in local law enforcement. He's been around for a long time. I'm very excited to bring him out when the time is right, but we have many solutions to include fixing the 911 operator situation, where we can't keep 911 operators because of the toxic environment. I'm slightly getting off topic, but I'm gonna roll it back because it's 911 related. You have to rely on the fact that when you pick up the phone and dial 911, that you're going to get that call answered, and that the appropriate services will start rolling your way, whether that's law enforcement, whether that's medic, whatever. But the toxic environment right now inside the sheriff's office is such, despite what the FOP boys say, because we know I've talked with folks that are working 911. They've told me what's going on. When you have to spend $260,000 to provide retention bonuses just to keep those current staffers in place, that's a problem. But I digress. Coming back to the role of the sheriff, I absolutely have a vision because I've been worried about this for 4 years, and especially the last 2 years when I saw Bob Norris not leading the county and saying, look, we hope nothing ever happens, but let's start preparing now. I don't think he even understands what that's like, because he's always been a government worker where the government has policies that's written by people above you, and those policies are put into place and you have to adopt them, and there's checklists on how to do your job. It's not really rocket science. And so he doesn't understand the holistic approach, since that's a buzzword these days, on what it's like to prepare an organization, and in this case, an entire county, to make certain everybody is secure, the maintaining of the rule of law. As that sheriff was stating earlier, they have to maintain the rule of law. They can't just let anybody come in there because they don't know who's going to loot, who's going to steal. These are things that we need to be talking about right now, not a day after the event takes place. And that is one of the major reasons that I decided to run for sheriff. I saw the usurpation of the Bill of Rights during 2020. I saw the border being wide open with thousands and millions of immigrants, invaders, as I call them, coming across our border. We saw the lack of equal protection under the law, 2 tiers of justice, where you can burn cities down with no repercussions, but if you dare go to the Capitol and address your government, you are stripped of your due process. And so all of these things combined with the uncertainty of world wars that could definitely bleed it over into here, I've just been compelled to get this county ready because I care about people and I love this county. This is the greatest county in the greatest state in the greatest country, and it's worth fighting for. And so many of you that I meet day after day after day say the same thing. You know this place is special. And it doesn't matter whether or not you are a conservative or whether or not your ideation is one of the left or liberal. We're all Kootenai County citizens. We all bleed the same red blood. We all hurt the same. I don't want to see anybody's child hurt. I don't want to see anybody's loved ones or the vulnerable left to die because we can't get them saved in the proper amount of time. Now, speaking of the vulnerable, another thing that I am so passionate about, as I've been talking for months, is that topic of human trafficking, which the current sheriff continually states over and over again that he sees no evidence of human trafficking taking place right here in Kootenai County. Well, I have made great acquaintances from organizations that are working tirelessly to save the innocence of those that are in our midst. And one of these organizations, The Innocent is what it's called, is run by a new friend of mine, Nate Lewis. And Nate Lewis joined me today for a conversation about his organization and kind of what he's doing. We're going to listen to a snippet of it. And then tonight, by the time this broadcast is completed, it will be live on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel, The Idaho Sheriff. I want you to watch the full 30-minute interview there. You're going to learn a lot of things about child trafficking right here in Kootenai County and what is being done by those that are partnering with law enforcement who, unfortunately, our current sheriff's department doesn't seem to think there's an issue, but there are other local law enforcement agencies that do. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this interview with Nate Lewis.
There's like, hey, there's something happening here. We should probably do something and look more into this. And in training and certain things, looking and practicing and getting reps in of doing this type of work, there's constantly people that my officer that works locally is communicating with locally that are engaging with who they know for sure, they believe from actual evidence is 12 years old. We had a case, and I can't give too many details, and we passed on because some of them are coming from Washington, but it doesn't matter. 25-minute drive, your children can still be at risk.
Right.
I'm telling you, you have to look at all the places. It may not be that there's like these dark secret hotels or Airbnbs that are housing a tons of kids. I'm not going to get into all that. But there's also ways that I think children are more at danger. And I think the most dangerous place they are for kids is online. And if we're not looking online and we're not looking at it from that angle, I think we're missing a lot. We're missing a lot. We really are.
And, you know, I can. Obviously, I was in law enforcement for 12 years, but I still cannot comprehend those stats that you just told me about right here in Kootenai County. I mean, my youngest daughter is now almost 17. I had a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. I had 5 of them. And to think that there are pervy men and women, and I assume that it's probably majority of men, but those looking to defile one of these young innocent, it makes me enraged. Oh. And I don't know about the people that are watching this right now. I have to believe they too are not anything less than enraged over this evil behavior.
Dan, let me give you some real stats. And there's some real people in Kootenai County Jail right now who have been arrested for some of these things if you look up the word traffic and the definition of those laws. But let me tell you some ones that we have been a part of in a small town in Washington. And this is, the news has reported this stuff, so it's all out there as well, but the cases are still pending, so not too many details can be provided. But this town, a small town, had never done any of these proactive investigations. They reacted to if there was a rape of a child. So the rape already took place. So we went in with the team who are active duty. We provided the training and some equipment to this department, and they went in and started doing these investigations. Now, one of them took about 6 to 7 minutes in a conversation to have the elements of an arrest. And then that person showed up to the school to believing they were going to meet up with a minor to have sex in a car and got arrested. That person who showed up to meet, I believe it was a 12 or 11-year-old, had a 9 and 11-year-old living inside the residence. Obviously, more steps have to be taken. I'm not going to get into details of this. Another 41-year-old male, this is all, there's news articles about this stuff. 41-year-old male showed up to have sex with an 11-year-old and had an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old stepchild that would continually, almost stepchild, they were about to get married, off and on spending time in the home as well. This is why we do what we do. There's so much, Dan, that is more than I can do on this thing. But when we're talking about focusing on the protection of children's innocence from child sex trafficking, exploitation, and sexual assault, and identifying patterns and behaviors online of what people are doing and watching them go from a digital addiction to a physical addiction, and how do we intervene before they go from this addiction that's online to a physical addiction, and understanding and getting into these forums that are available to the public that most people don't even know about, that are specific forums where you can communicate and share groups in this interweb of people that are out there that are addicted. And the scariest part is there's professional predators. Yeah. There's sloppy ones who are just getting into this and they're like, oh yeah, they don't try to hide their identity. And then there's really professional ones who are really good at this. And that's where the training has to come in, to go after, first start with the low hanging fruit and then just graduate and keep going. This summer, my team members, wasn't working directly with us. I was there and we supported in ways that we could, but there was a large operation. And here's a crazy stat, Dan. This group, and I'm not going to give away too much information, who has been doing these type of investigations for, I think it's 5 years, have arrested over 330 predators in these operations. They arrested 12 within 54 hours. That's sleep time included in there too, in this small town. And ended up becoming 13, but in that window was 12. And set a record for a one-day number of arrests. And most of those on their phone had pictures of them and their own child as their screensaver. Some of them did, or their family. I'm not even to the crazy part yet. And all these 330 arrests that were made, about 3% of them were registered sex offenders. Okay? So that means that 97% of them were not known to be sex
been caught yet. Yeah.
Anyone who's watching, go to familywatchdog.us and put your address in, and then search for all the registered sex offenders living around you. And you can see their profile, what their charges were, all that stuff. Zoom out, scope around your area, go into Spokane, go all the way up. That represents potentially about 3% of the offenders that haven't been caught, arrested, convicted, found guilty, and then registered as a sex offender. Okay. Yeah. It's going to blow your mind. And here's the other thing. You think that, it's happening right here and this right here, but these offenders travel. So they could come from Kalispell, Montana, or Missoula, or Portland. They could come from all over to meet children. So there's a lot. We're in a really cool place, I think, in time where it's being talked about. The people want something to be done about it. And we're in a place where there's a lot that we can offer law enforcement that want to get into this at whatever level they're at. Doesn't matter. We're not here to judge anyone. We're here to help them. We're here to help law enforcement. That's all really what we're doing. We're giving an avenue for the people to make an impact, hopefully locally.
You can hear that full interview where Nate and I talk for about 30 minutes at the YouTube page, The Idaho Sheriff. What you're going to hear is you're going to hear about stats from right here in Kootenai County. And we know that currently the sheriff has stated there's no evidence. But listen to what Nate has to say. And then more information will be coming out in the next few days regarding more things that are being done to root this out of our community. But Nate will talk to you in this interview about understanding what the definition of human trafficking is according to Idaho state law. And so I urge you to read that so that you can understand everything that encompasses. And also you can go to theinnocent.org to learn more about Nate and his team and what they're doing as a service to our communities to assist law enforcement in helping to eradicate this vile evilness out of our own community. So, Nate, thank you again for your time today. And I hope you will listen to this interview and spread the message throughout all of Kootenai County and join us together, because this really is a community effort.
And like Dan said, that full interview video will premiere tonight on the Idaho Sheriff YouTube channel at 8:15 p.m. And then once that has premiered, we'll share it to the Facebook page so you guys can watch the full episode.
Yeah. So last week we talked about Bob Norris's kind of off the cuff press release warning people about him taking initiative during uncertain times.
I think you read that. I think on last
If we go to
broadcast.
slide number 4, we can revisit this real quick. But basically, this dropped a few hours before we went live last week. He said, "Your safety is our priority. Millions of illegal border crossers, 2 assassination attempts on a presidential candidate, and upcoming anniversary of a war in the Middle East. The news stories are troubling in the Middle East and at our southern border, and especially in our own political process. I want you to know that your sheriff's office is proactively serving your community. I've instructed your sheriff's office to deploy additional resources to ensure that peace is maintained and for a more rapid response to events should one arise in your community. I encourage every resident to stay vigilant, and if you see something suspicious, do not hesitate to call your law enforcement agency." Now,
there's so much going on there.
Yeah, so we're talking about
gonna use more resources.
we're talking about border crossers, assassination attempts, upcoming war anniversary in the Middle East. News stories are troubling, not only at our southern border, and I'd say our northern border as well, but also in our own political process. So,
yeah, what does that mean?
I put in a records request immediately upon receiving this, and I received it just yesterday. And if we go to slide number 5, because I like everybody to get to see up close and personal what I requested, you'll see that I put this in on, this one, they sent it to me on 10/8, but this was done last week on 10/2. And here's what I asked in my email. If we go to slide number 2, or second page of the slide, rather. I said, referencing Sheriff Norris's 10/2/24 media release, Sheriff's Office takes initiative during uncertain times. Please provide the following information. Number 1, what are Sheriff Norris's sources for his concern? Number 2, what concerns does Sheriff Norris have regarding Kootenai County political process? Please provide specifics like what threats and by whom, and whether Clerk Jen Locke also shares these concerns, and how Sheriff Norris and Clerk Locke plan on ensuring our local elections are safe and secure. Number 3, what additional resources has Sheriff Norris deployed, and will this entail any overtime for deputies and staff or additional non-budgeted expenses? And lastly, number 4, please provide all emails, memos, policy changes directed to all deputies, supervisors, and command staff relating to this additional deployment of resources. So after just shy of a week, my response was number 2, unable to respond for one or more of the following reasons. Number 2, no search criteria was provided. So apparently, please provide all emails, memos, policy changes directed to all deputies, supervisors, and command staff relating to this additional deployment of resources isn't enough information. So apparently I wasn't using enough phrases.
Well, is it that, or is it that what Bob Norris is putting into his press releases? He is saying
no
has
search,
no
search
substance to
criteria.
it.
All due respect, those that receive these, not the poor clerks that are doing the hard work, the record specialists. This is directly from command. So command, you guys know exactly what I was asking for, and you're obstructing like you do often, but whatever. Now, the rest of everything was given a response of not known to exist. So apparently, Bob is concerned enough to put out this press release, but there are no plans. There are no records for what the sources of his concern are. So he's not going to provide those. He's not going to provide what concerns he has about our political process and what he and Jen Locke have been discussing. So they're not going to provide any basis for that. And he's definitely not going to provide anything about the additional resources that he's going to deploy, and will this entail any overtime for deputies? Look, I've been saying this as I have for many, many months now. This is just one more rung on the ladder of Bob's reactions to what I've been putting out, because he knows that he's continually behind the curve and he has to sound important. So his special deputy PR guy, Bruce Matari, who happens to also be the county commissioner with that special deputization where he's never gone through a psych or poly or, any of the other things that those of us that went through the hard way of law enforcement had to do, and has access to privileged information. Well, I guess there's no substance to any of it, folks. So if there's no records of anything, did it really exist? Or is this proof that, once again, Bob pulled something from his backside to present as a hero to the people?
I just think it created a lot of confusion. Maybe we live in a world, and even already in a county now, that things move quickly enough that his feet aren't being held to the fire for that. What additional resources are putting out there? What is that? What are they?
Well, look, I'm concerned, if he's concerned, that there's a potential for the local political process to be compromised or to be vulnerable. Well, we want to know this. And I believe it's this coming Friday. The elections office is going to be holding some testing of the voting equipment. So I'll be down there to observe that with many other elected representatives or campaigners like me, since I'm not an official elected position yet. But I'm concerned. I think many people across this country are concerned whether or not our elections are safe. And I believe that when Bob says things like he does in these little pressers, and he starts making people concerned, then he better have something backing that up if he's going to run his mouth in an official press release. And according to his own department, they have no records to substantiate anything that he said. So
thank you for joining us tonight on this live stream broadcast. We've got a few more minutes left in the hour. So we want to remind you that you can donate securely to the campaign on our website, theidahosheriff.com. My feeling is we have not asked liberally enough, even over the course of the whole year. And so any amount helps. If it's $25, $50, $100, help us get to the home stretch here. And we sure appreciate the donations. So many of the people that have rallied around us to this point. And like Dan said earlier, those who were even out waving signs tonight. And Terry checked in with me and said lots of honking and waving and positive response out there.
We were outside Candlelight Church on Sunday morning for, I think, all their 3 services. We were there for 4 hours?
They might have 4 services.
Love how friendly the people were from Candlelight going and leaving. And several weeks earlier when we were at one place up in Hayden, standing outside trying to get our message out so that people know who we are. In fact, you and I later on went to lunch, and we had a lady walk up to our table and said, "Hey, are you that guy running for sheriff?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, we saw you waving your signs. We looked you up, and you absolutely have our vote." So if you happen to be that lady that came up to us at our table on Wednesday, I was going to say Wednesday, because church is on Wednesday and Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. On Sunday.
For us old Baptists, it is.
Yeah, that
Sunday,
was awesome.
Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night.
But yeah, thanks to all of our volunteers. Thanks to Dan, who's been building all of the signs and getting those put up. Thanks to Grizz for helping on the back end. Terry, and I'm going to forget so many names, I'm going to get in trouble, but Jen and Bill and Grizz and Monica, Linda. I'm forgetting many names.
I don't think people.
Yeah, I know, because it'll never end. I am very grateful, though, for those who have partnered with us these many months. We are almost there, 27 days. I am so excited. We have a few short weeks to continue to get the message out of liberty without compromise. Your choice. Do you want somebody that's a career cop that only looks at things from a cop perspective where every problem is cop related? Or do you want somebody that thinks outside of the box, that does understand the law enforcement side? Because I did it for 12 years, volunteered thousands of hours, my cost. Do you want somebody like me, or do you want some fuddy-duddy that also happens to be on $187,000 a year disability from Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office? I mean, the choice is yours. Go to theidahosheriff.com. Check me out. You can find many of my topics. You can find my bio, the KCRCC comparison survey. We haven't talked about that in a while, but look at the answers that Bob Norris gave to the KCRCC vetting committee versus mine. I would argue and say that Bob doesn't really understand too much about limited government or the role of government or even what the constitutional republic is all about. But I digress. Listen, we are facing some very, very uncertain times, and especially in the next few weeks. We have natural events. We have fellow Americans that are suffering, and that includes little children and the vulnerable and the elderly. But I want you guys to remember that despite all of this, that if you're an American, you did not descend from fearful men. You descended from men who understood the times, they acted accordingly, and they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. That has been passed down from generation to generation. And now here it is on our own doorstep. It's time for us as Americans to rise together to build off the foundation that our framers gave to us so that we can maintain the rule of law for everyone, equal protection under the law. So I want you to never lose hope. Stay strong and courageous. May God bless you all. May God bless Kootenai County, and may God bless the United States of America.
Remember to join us at our Liberty Without Compromise rally. That's coming up Monday, October 21st, 6:30 p.m. That's going to be at North Idaho College. Nice, convenient location, a really nice spot. Hope to see you there. You can RSVP to that event on Facebook, and then you can share that to your profile so that your friends and family can join us as well. You can still get these Liberty Without Compromise t-shirts, hoodies, hats. I think there's mugs, all the gear there on our website at theidahosheriff.com. Anything else I missed?
Brooke, Ron, still trying to remember everybody that was out there. Yeah.
I
feel bad.
Feels like romper room.
Oh, Jim. Have you seen Jim's truck?
Oh, we got a message this morning from a lady that says, I see this truck every morning on my way into work, I think it is, and it helps her start her day with a smile. That's Jim's truck.
Jim has buy-in. Jim, thank you so much for your support. It means so much, especially knowing your story, brother. Everybody else, stay aware of everything that's going on. Make certain you're prepared. Look for radios and alternative means of communication. Pack a bunch of food in your house. Be ready. Water, soap, medical supplies. Be ready for anything. Hope you don't ever use it. I think now it's time to go and smoke a cigar, drink a little whiskey.
Just about.
And let's end this thing.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Idaho Sheriff live stream broadcast with Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff. We're here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And the best place to watch archive broadcasts is on our YouTube channel, The Idaho Sheriff. Go to YouTube to listen and subscribe. For the Idaho Sheriff podcast, listen and subscribe wherever you get those shows. And podcast listeners, watch live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. It's fun. Learn more about Dan Wilson, his platform, policies, viewpoints, and endorsements at theidahosheriff.com.